Have you ever wondered how challenger players can turn games that seem extremely doomed into games like this, where you're absolutely just running over everyone? Yeah, I'm just huge. Just one-shot everyone. I ended up turning this game around mostly through mid and late game decision making, and we won in just over 25 minutes, even though my early game was pretty meh. In Decision Trainers, we usually focus on beginning minutes, but today, we're going to mix things up and drop you in from the mid game, with some context of course, and see how you would snowball. The early game was relatively uneventful, with just a couple of ints from teammates, and that's how we find ourselves in this situation where we're just clearing down after that top play. We'll just play out the early game for a bit so you can familiarize yourself with the game state. Here are the champions for both teams. And yeah, ignore me inting by resetting the wolves here, totally intentional handicap, that was definitely not a mistake. Anyways, when we get to the Raptors, I find that they're already taken. We end up catching Master Yi on red buff, and Ezreal barely snipes him to finish the kill off. I definitely could have solo killed if I spaced a bit better, but again, the early game of this game wasn't anything insane. Afterwards, I go to grab the crab, and Echo decides for some reason to duel a Kha'Zix, but we won't question it too hard. After my recall, we're definitely still losing, and from here, we have to make a really important decision to get back in the game. Would you go top side, go bot side to your Raptors, or can you not answer this yet? Think about what the main objective in the game should be right now. You should have said you can't answer it yet. From base, we never really want to make snap decisions this far in advance. Walking from base should be spent on gathering info and thinking about multiple options at once. You'll get new info during the walk, and when you get closer to lanes and camps, you will need to make a decision to avoid wasting time. But when the distance is shorter, there's less time for things to change, so you can make better, more accurate choices. Because Gangplank isn't in lane at the start, I start walking slightly towards bot side so I can hover my two lanes that are in lane just in case they get ganked. But I shift towards mid when I'm still unsure of what to do. From here, what would you do? Would you go towards Wolves, Raptors, Rift Herald, or go towards mid? Judging from the screen we paused on, Echo is playing extremely aggressively while he's a level down, in a wave, and while Malzahar has ult and passive shield up. This kind of behavior is extremely telegraphed, and due to this he either wants to int, or his jungler is there. Because of this, you should definitely just hover mid until Malzahar can push his wave and reach safety, or until Echo drastically changes this behavior. I mean, just look at how obvious this is. This kind of extremely telegraphed laning happens all the time until very, very high elo, and learning how to read the body language of enemy laners just makes it super obvious when you should counter gank. Sure enough, Master Yi shows up right on cue like expected, and even from a level down, we turn the fight in our favor due to the element of surprise. Would you push this wave or let it freeze back to us? While letting it come back is definitely fine and would let Malzahar collect more farm, we want to have a greedy mentality in solo queue because we are the only trustworthy player. Pushing allows us to get tons of XP and opens up additional plays for us due to having priority in mid now. Malzahar will be able to come back to lane and immediately help us if we do any plays. From here, would you hit plates, counter jungle, start rift, or take your own camps? You should have said counter jungle, since it's the option that's closest to the enemy base, it's the hardest one to do normally, and this is an opportunity that won't come often. Even if the Raptors weren't here, I would be able to immediately do something else. Speaking of which, would you start rift here, go top to dive, or go back to your camps? Our advantage in numbers comes from the mid prio that we just forced by shoving the wave, so we want to keep our play pretty close to mid lane to use Malzahar's move. Because of this, I choose to start Rift. However, as I finish it, Dragon is nearly about to spawn. What would you do? Just go back to farming camps, run to Dragon, reset and go to Dragon, or none of the above? Even though the Dragon is spawning, there was no way I could contest both. Because of this, I chose to go with the objective that was more consistent and had more potential to snowball. Basically doing something immediately and making use of the death timer was much safer, and trying to overdo it and contest multiple things in a row is the fastest way to throw a game. Because of this, I just retreat back to my camps and give up on the dragon altogether. What would you do from this position? Would you go bot side and try to clean up the fight, stay top side and invade, drop Rift Herald top, or drop Rift Herald mid? We definitely can't get to dragon in time before they just leave. Even if our team cleans up, we can start working on something else to get ahead on tempo. In order to create the play that's hardest to react to for the enemy team, going top and using Rift is the best play, since they're mostly focused on the dragon right now. I clear my blue on the way while I wait for GP to push the wave, and then I drop Rift. Would you help walk the Rift in through the lane, recall, or invade? You should have said invade. You don't need to split experience with Gangplank, and you'll have the opportunity to potentially get more golden XP by taking away a camp. It'll also put you in a position to dive should the opponent disrespect your positioning. Trend played this pretty well by taking away the Krugs, but what would you do here? Dive, back off and recall, or stay and try to invade other camps? Trying to take more camps would be extremely greedy since we wouldn't have any immediate backup, and recalling is definitely a missed opportunity to at least commit to the dive. With Flash, R, and E still up, I feel pretty confident going for this even though we don't exactly know where Yi is. And once I do dive, I back off after since we don't see Echo and Yi on the map. When they do show, we're faced with another decision. Would you stay and fight here or run? Gangplank still has ult, and we have all skills and summoners up. Winning this should definitely be pretty easy. Even with this much gold, the fight really isn't that close. Now, what would you do? Recall and go bot side, push the wave, or invade? This is another situation where you can leave the wave, but if you can take 2 waves, it's pretty worth it since it's not really that detrimental for your laner in this case. Just make sure it doesn't get absolutely frozen forever, but at elos lower than Grandmaster, enemy laners probably won't know to freeze by their tier 2, even if it doesn't end up crashing all the way in like here. What would you do now? Recall, invade for the red, break the potential freeze, or go to the crab? We do not want to fight under any circumstance right now with this much gold, and laner's dead. Crab seems nice, but it's likely that we just might run into Yi and be forced to leave. I'd rather take tempo and just base for a guaranteed lead. From base, where would you go? Gromp, Krugs, Crab, or none of the above? Once again, we shouldn't decide just yet until we get closer to things. I do want to be on bot side since my bot lane is pushing and therefore most vulnerable to a gank right now. And because I just bot, I want to force and push that advantage as much as possible. Once I'm right next to my camps, mid, and have tons of options, I like bot and see this. What would you do next? Farm camps, look mid, or look for the dive bot? I want to look for the dive bottom. Since I'm so strong and because I hard win the 1v1 against Yi, I just want to fight really badly here. Skipping all of my camps allows me many options, whether it be invading or going bot, but because bot was fighting, I just go and clean house. At this point, I'm strong enough to just solo win any fight that I take, and that's pretty much what happens. I can collect kills where I go and just force over and over. Hopefully this video taught you a decent amount about mid-game decision making, and in a future guide, we'll definitely explore the late game in a similar manner. Just as a reminder, there are multiple ways to play the game and playstyle differences even amongst top players. Just because you didn't choose to make the same plays I did doesn't mean you're wrong. But I have shown that my decision making does get me challenger, so it's at least worth considering why our options might have been different if they were.
Now, what you find here on YouTube is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to unlock your true potential, then you need to dive into SkillCapped.com. We have the largest catalog of League of Legends guides in the entire world, with over 1,500 guides and 350 unique courses. You get brand new guides every week exclusive to our website, along with our Smurf commentaries where our challenger experts walk you through how to carry out of the exact rank you're stuck in. Still unsure? Well, you can have all your questions answered by those same challenger experts. Need one-on-one coaching? We got you covered with hand-picked coaches trained to the highest standard. Don't have time for that? Use Direct Pro. Pick a past game you played and within 24 hours get a personalized video from a top 100 challenger player breaking down exactly what you can do better. The best part, all of this comes with a rank improvement guarantee. If you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using SkillCapped, you can claim a refund, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Head to SkillCapped.com and get the rank you've always wanted. Link in the description below.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.